طيب. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. السلام عليكم brothers after Ramadan. حياكم الله. Inshallah we'll continue. طيب, we'll continue with the Lum'atul i'tiqad. We have done half of the book. We have half of the book left, inshallah. قال ابن قدامة رحمه الله: ولا نجعل قضاء الله وقدره حجة لنا في ترك أوامره واجتناب نواهيه، بل يجب أن نؤمن ونعلم أن الله علينا الحجة بإنزال الكتب وبعثة الرسل. قال الله تعالى: لئلا يكون للناس على الله حجة بعد الرسل. Ibn Qudama says, we do not use qada, decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, evidence to justify for leaving any worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, any commandment and prohibitions, but in fact we have to believe in Allah, okay, and know that Allah Azza wa Jal has hujjah against hujjah by sending the books and sending the messengers. So there is no لِأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ. So there is no anything for mankind hujjah against Allah Azza wa Jal after He sent the messenger. So what we're talking about today, that we do not justify not worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal by using qada or qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. So basically, why don't you worship Allah? Because it's qadr of Allah. Okay. Why did you commit the sin? It's qadr of Allah. We're not allowed to use such phrases to justify our sins which we commit in our life. Now, Ahl Sunnah says that we use qadr of Allah in terms of musibah, not in sins. So if someone is afflicted with the sins, tayyib, or afflicted with the disease or anything like that, catastrophe in his life, we say qadr of Allah. But if someone disobeys Allah Azza wa Jal, qadr of Allah. You know, in our culture, a lot of our people, when we say, why don't you pray? Oh, it's qadr of Allah. It's written on my forehead. I'm not going to worship Allah. A'udhu billah. You justify your sins, okay, by saying qadr of Allah. It is not allowed in Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal to do that. طيب. So let's translate this. نعلم أن الله عز وجل ما أمر ونهى إلا المستطيع لفعل وترك. That we know that Allah Azza wa Jal did not command us or prohibit us except what we are able to do. Anything that Allah commands us to do, we are able to do that, and anything what Allah forbids us, we are able to abandon that. So in anything in Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal, it commands us based on ability, based on our qudra. Nothing that we cannot do. It's based on our istita'a. وأنه لم يجبر أحدا على معصية ولا اضطره إلى ترك الطاعة. So Allah Azza wa Jal did not force us to do any act. Okay? In the Quran Allah said, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُمُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. That we have guided them. We have sent messengers. We have sent the Quran and the Sunnah. We have sent scholars. Okay? It's up to you to accept or reject. So there's nothing in Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal where Allah compel you to do. Okay? Okay? And also Sharia teaches us that if you're compelled in a situation which is difficult, you can leave that act. You can leave it. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden someone that can bear. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم. Fear Allah as much as you can. I know many verses. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah wants it not difficult. So today we're tackling an issue that people out there, they use qadr of Allah to justify their sins. And the mushrikun, and they said, if it wasn't written by Allah, if it was the qadr of Allah, we would not commit shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's what they do, yadu billah. Now, when it comes to this mas'ala, okay, there are three categories. Okay, first of all, the first category is that al-Mu'tazila and Qadariyya, who deny the Qadr of Allah. Then you have Jabariyya, who not the extreme, they use the Qadr, and the Mutawassitun, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now, regarding the Qadariyya Mu'tazila, you'll understand how they deny the Qadr. Mu'tazila has 5 principles in the Aqidah books. The first is Tawheed. Their Tawheed is to deny the Sifat of Allah. Okay, that's the Tawheed. Then the second one is the Adl, which we can talk about, being just. The third is Manzila Bayna Manzilatain, which is, they say that Mu'tazila, that if someone commits major sins, he's between the two stations. He's not a Muslim, not a Kafir. If he dies upon it, he dies as a Kafir. That's the Manzila they put. By Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you're the Muslim or you're a Kafir, nothing in between. Okay, the next one is that Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Enjoy good, forbidding evil. Mu'tazila says part of that is to revolt against the rulers, because they believe we are enjoying good, but revolting the rulers, fighting against the rulers. But this mafsada is greater, and Sharia came to prevent that, stop that as well. The next one is al-Wa'id. Wa'id is they practice Wa'id, meaning that they take the verses which are related to Wa'id, threat, and they impose upon that on the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. So they use verses of threat of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that's why what they do, they use the verses and they declare the Muslim to be kuffar and things like that. Now this is the five usul of Mu'tazila. The one we're talking about is Adl. So they deny the Qadr of Allah. They say that, okay, Allah is just. Allah is just, so we cannot use Qadr for the sins the slave commit. So they say that, how can it be Allah just? How can you say it's Qadr of Allah committed sin that Allah punishes? It doesn't make sense. So we say every sin that a slave commits is not Qadr of Allah. Okay? He creates his own action. He does his action in his own self. He did it. Nothing to do with the Qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. And this can confuse some people, yadu billah. But we say, al-imanu bil-qadri khayri wa sharri. Iman, to believe in the Qadr, good and bad. So every slave commit act of sin is Qadr of Allah. When Iblis disobeyed Allah, I want you to understand this. When Iblis disobeyed Allah, wasn't the Qadr of Allah? It's Qadr of Allah. Meaning, Allah had knowledge. Allah is written down. Okay, He willed it and He created it. Okay, these 4 pillars of Qadr were established in that. So when Allah commanded the Malaika to make sajda to Adam, they all made it. The Malaika. Allah knows that Iblis will not make sajda because of takabbur. Okay, it's Qadr of Allah. He disobeyed Allah. And it's Qadr of Allah, the Malaika obeyed Allah. So how do we answer that question? We say, every slave of Allah, wherever they obey Allah, disobey Allah, is based on Qadr of Allah. The fact of the matter is, we have the choice in the matter. Okay? Whatever choice we make, it's Qadr of Allah. If you chose not to come to the class, Qadr of Allah. If you came to the class, Qadr of Allah. If you chose not to pray 5 times a day, it's Qadr of Allah. Allah has written 50,000 years before the creation, He knew that you're going to do that. So everything happened in the heaven and the earth by the Qadr of Allah. But Allah is not forcing you to do. You've chosen, you have earned with your own hand. Okay? So the Mu'tazila, Qadariyya, they say that Adl of Allah, from the part of Adl, part of the usul al-Din, that we deny the Qadr in that aspect. Because you can't say sin happened by the Qadr of Allah. Ya'udhu billah. Of course it happened. Allah decrees everything. He knows everything what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. He knew prior to happening. Tayyib. So that's Qadariyya you have. The Mu'tazila. Okay? They deny the Qadr of Allah. That's one extreme. We have the second extreme, Jabariyya. Now the Jabariyya, my brothers, they are the extreme is that they believe in the qadr of Allah, but they say we are forced to do things. So this is another one now. We are forced. So when we are forced to obey Allah, we are forced to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. But there's no anything in the Quran. In fact, Allah makes it easier. He makes it clear. Inna hadaynahum sabila imma shakir wa imma kafura. We have guided them and we showed them the path. Either they accept or reject. There's nothing force. There's no force in the Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب. So Jabariya, you have two types. One of the extreme one is that they say it's like you're forced in everything. It's like leaves. You have a leaf on a wind. What happens when the wind comes? The leaf goes everywhere, isn't it? They say you're like that. You're forced in everything. And these are the extreme one. The second type of Jabariya is that they say you're forced inside, okay, not outwardly. So you might be forced inside, but outwardly you can control yourself. That's one of the belief of the Qadariya. طيب. So we're not allowed to use our sins use qadr to justify our sins. Now, in the hadith of Prophet he said that وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ الْقَدْرِ فَأَمْسِكُوا, that if the qadr is mentioned, then hold on to it, don't talk about it, because it can confuse us, it can misguide us. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Prophet said to them, indeed Allah Azza wa Jal has written the qadr who's going to go to heaven and hell. Allah knows. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, can we not just trust on that, the qadr of Allah, and leave it? He said, no. Worship Allah, and Allah has made easy for you to do whatever you decide. So we have to worship Allah, do a'mal, and take our means to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. We can't just leave it to qadr. And Ali radiallahu anhu said, Al-qadru sirrullah fala tafshih. That the qadr, knowledge of qadr, is the secret knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. Do not spread it. Because you can misguide, you can misquote, things like that. Don't think too much about it. Because the more you contemplate, the more you think, it can delude you and confuse you. Iblis can use that to make you disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. So you have Jabariya on this aspect, and you have Mu'tazila and Qadariya, they have another aspect who deny the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. So they've gone astray in this aspect when it comes to this issue, qadr and qada. طيب. Now the mutawassitun, hum Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, those who take in the middle path, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they do not go either way. They say that we believe in the qadr of Allah and the qada, طيب, and we believe everything happened with the qadr of Allah, with the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, and but every slave has a choice in the matter, and they do everything based on the choice. They are not forced to do things. But yes, Allah has sent the messengers and He sent the Quran to clarify haqq and the batil. So, Amr wa Nahi, every command that we do based on our istita'ah. Nothing based on difficulties. Like for example, Ramadan. We fast month of Ramadan, but if you're ill, you don't fast. If you're traveling, you don't fast. It is like that. You pray standing up. If you can't pray sitting down, there are many hadith about that. So where did Allah Azza wa Jal force the believers to do such act? So it's it's important issue that we have to understand and learn. Okay, do not justify our sins by using the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's continue inshallah. The next chapter. The next chapter is, my brothers, al-imanu qawlun bil-lisan wa amalu bil-arkan wa aqdu bil-janan yazidu bil-ta'ati wa yanqusu bil-isyan. Different phrases, different wording. Al-iman is statement with the tongue, action with arkan. The arkan are pillars, means your hand, your tongue, your leg, everything, include everything. And believe in the heart, and it increases with obedience and decreases with the disobedience. Now, first of all, that's the definition of al-Iman, and I'm going to give you what the Salaf have said about Iman. Now, the word al-Iman is linguistically it means tasdeeq. Okay, it means tasdeeq, which means belief. And the ayah they use in Surah Yusuf, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُصَدِّقْ لَنَا مُصَدِّقْ يا بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا من تصديق. That's what linguistically mean. Also, there are some of the ulama says like Shaykh al-Islam and Ibn Abil Izz, al-Iman is taken from the word al-amn, protections. And basically, I can understand the connection between that and the shara'an is that if you worship Allah Azza wa Jal, you follow your deen, you have security, you have protections. In the Quran, Allah said, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا Allah said in the Quran, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ أَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. As for those who believe and they do not make the belief and iman together, similar, okay, mix their iman and shirk, yani, then they will have amn, protection, and they'll be guided. So amn, protection comes through tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. Protection comes through actions. When we follow our iman, we practice our iman, the amn will come. And the ulama explain this amn in this ayah, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ. They say this amn here, the two types of amn. Amn mutlaq and mutlaqul amn. Amn mutlaq, absolute protection, is that a slave of Allah who worships Allah alone with tawheed, without any shirk, and leaving all the major sins, then he will have total protections. Yani he will enter Jannah without any hisab, inshallah. The second type of amn is that, partial amn, is that a slave died upon tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. Maybe he had major sins, he never made tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jal. He can be punished for that, and then he will be saved from the hellfire, and then eventually he will be taken to the Jannah, inshallah. So, amn, iman, al-iman is from the word amn, the security and protection, things like that. طيب, so, al-iman, the ulama says, linguistically it means tasdeeq. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا. Okay? يعني بِمُصَدِّقٍ لَنَا. And you're not musaddiq for us. You know, this ayah talking about Yusuf alayhi salam. when the Yusuf alayhi salam, the brothers plotted against him and they left him wherever, they left him in a well, and they came to their father Yaqub alayhi salam, and they said to the children said, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا. You will not believe us, you will not trust us. Okay? So mu'min here, musaddiq. The word iman linguistically means tasdeeq. It comes in the Quran. Also, it comes in the Quran, Islamic terminology as well. And I'm going to give you some of the evidences, inshallah. So when Allah said, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا, this iman here, mu'min mean linguistic meaning. Okay? How do we know that? When the word letter after iman or mu'min comes, lam, it means linguistic meaning. Okay? It means linguistic meaning, mean musaddiq, tasdiq, we just believe, we trusted you. Okay? The second type of meaning, which is the meaning of sharia, which the ulama has given, and I'm going to give it to you as well, which is state of the tongue, belief of the heart, action of the limbs. That's the meaning of iman in Islamic terminology. That's the one we're talking about. That meaning comes in the Quran, and the iman refers to that meaning. And I'll give you one of the ayah in the Quran. Allah said, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ. If they believe the way you believe, they'll be guided. So this belief here, what does it mean? Just to believe? No. Belief in the heart, state of the tongue, action of the limbs. If they live their life like that, they'll be guided. So this iman here means shara'an. You live your life according to the companions, belief, statement, and actions. طيب? So There's another linguistic meaning. I'm just going back again. فآمن له لوط. Okay? Lut believed in him, Ibrahim alayhi salam. This amana, what does amana mean? Tasdeeq. Just believe, trusted him. This ayah talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam want to leave and go another place. Lut is the nephew of Ibrahim alayhi salam, his brother's son. Okay? So the word iman here means trust or belief. So these are two terminology. Terminology, linguistic terminology, and Islamic terminology are mentioned in the Quran, and it's been explained. طيب. Now I'm going to give you definition of iman, which the Salaf have mentioned. Okay, and then we will talk about the people who went astray on this aspect as well. So, ta'riful iman, definition of iman. I want you to memorize this, inshallah. Understand. قال إمام أحمد الإيمان قول وعمل يزيد وينقص. Iman is statement and action, and it increases and decreases. Okay, statement of the heart. The statement of two types: heart and the tongue. Action, heart and the limbs. طيب. And it increases and decreases. So this is basic principle of principle of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, is that iman increases and decreases, and we'll find out how increases with the obedience of Allah, and it decreases with the disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. And you'll see that all the ulama of the Salaf they agreed with the same definition. طيب. So we understand action is part of iman, statement is part of iman. Imam al-Ajurri said, Al-Iman qawlun bil-lisan wa i'tiqadu bil-qalb wa amalu bil-jawarih wa la yakunu mu'minan hatta tajtami hadhi thalatha khisal. Imam al-Ajurri said that in his book, Sharia, that Iman is statement with the tongue, belief of the heart, action of the limbs. None of you will become a true believer until these three comes together. Belief, statement, and actions. None of you will be true believer until these three come together. Imam Sabuni said, Al-Iman qawlu bil-lisan wa i'tiqadu bil-janan wa amalu bil-jawarih wa yazidu bil-ta'a wa yanqusu bil-ma'asiyah. Imam Sabuni said that Iman is statement of the tongue, action of belief of the heart, and action of the limbs, and it increases with obedience, and it decreases with disobedience. Can you see that all the definitions are same? Ibn Qayyim says, أن العبودية منقسمة على القلب واللسان والجوارح على كل منها عبودية خاصة. Ibn Qayyim says, رحمه الله, العبودية. What is عبودية? Al-ubudiyah refers to the slave that they turn all their worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. And al-uluhiyyah refers to Allah, that He deserves all the worship. So that's why He said al-ubudiyah. So ubudiyah, the slave, servitude to Allah, regarding the slave, in the three categories. This servitude either comes from the heart, the tongue, and the limbs. So what is the servitude that comes from the heart? Worship, love, hope, fear, trust. These all should be turned to Allah Azza wa Jal alone. Okay? Lisan, tongue, our worship of the tongue. Tasbih la ilaha illallah, making afkar, reading Quran, giving da'wah. These are the worship of the tongue. And the jawarih, and the limbs. Salah, zakat, hajj, jihad. These are all ubudiyah to Allah Azza wa Jal. We all do this for the sake of Allah, to turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's the definition of al-iman. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah said, قابلت أهل العلم من الأمصار. I've met ulama from different land. لم يفرقوا بين قالوا أن الدين والإيمان قول وعمل. Imam Bukhari said, all of these ulama, they said the iman, ad-deen, is action and statement. Action and statement, or statement and action. They will never separate those two things. Abu Hatim al-Razi, Abu Dur' al-Razi, they said same thing. that Iman, قول باللسان, اعتقاد بالجنان, عمل بالجوارح, okay, يزيد بالطاعة وينقص بالمعصية. They even said that Iman is straight to the tongue, belief of the heart, action of the limbs, and it increases and decreases. So all the ulama and all other ulama, they define al-Iman like that. And the important part of it is that the Iman, action, Iman goes together. You can't separate them. Okay, and we're going to talk about that now, inshallah. Now, another definition I want to give called Khamsa Noon. Definition of Khamsa Noon. The noon end with 5 noon. And this is very good as well. He says, Iman qawlu bil lisan wa i'tiqatu bil janan wa amalu bil arkan wa yazidu bi ta'ati ar-Rahman wa yanqusu bil ma'siyati ar-Rahman. All with the noon. So, statement of the tongue, belief of the heart, janan is heart, amalu bil arkan, acting with the arkan, rukun, the limbs, okay? Yazudu bi ta'ati ar-Rahman, in keep with the obedience of ar-Rahman, noon, and it decreases by disobeying ar-Rahman, noon again. طيب. So there's another benefit of what Shaykh Salih brings, khamsa noon in the definition of al-Iman. طيب. So you see, you have understood now, my brothers, the definition of al-Iman. Now, the people who went against, went astray with this thing is that, first of all, the Khawarij. The Khawarij, they say that they define Iman exactly the way Ahl Sunnah defines. Exactly same. But you know what they say? They say that it doesn't categorize, meaning that it's one thing. So Iman and action goes together, they say. Okay, so we say as well. But they say that action, Iman together, so when you commit major sin, nothing is left for you. Everything goes outside the window. You become a kafir. You are declared to be kuffar. Okay? But we know you're not. Okay? That's the downfall of Khawarij when it comes to the definitions. They said everything yazul, everything diminishes. Your Iman goes down. طيب? That's the Khawarij. That's why they declare them, the one who commit major sin, they're kuffar. There's no evidence for that anyway. We have evidence that it doesn't take out the full of Islam. طيب. We'll give the evidence. Okay, for example, alcohol. According to the Khawarij, if you drink alcohol, you're kafir. But Sahabi was drinking in front of Rasulullah. He never said you're kafir. Where in the Quran said if you drink alcohol, you become a kafir? La. Zina doesn't take out the full of Islam. It's haram, yes. At the time of Prophet ﷺ, 2 companions committed zina. A Prophet is alive. No ayah was revealed to say they're kuffar. Allah didn't reveal it for us. So even Allah not saying they're kuffar. You think they're kuffar. Ma'iz. And the Sahabi, radiallahu anhu, is still a Sahabi. You can't take that away. He died, he's still a Sahabi. And Ghamidiyya, a Sahabiya, female Sahabiya, married from Ghamidiyya, tribe from Ghamidiyya, committed zina. She came to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, I've committed zina. Prophet 3 times. And then she was stoned to death. Prophet prayed janazah over her. What other evidence do you need to say she's still a Muslimah? طيب? She's still a Muslimah. طيب? So, many evidences. Okay? And Allah said, Inna Allah la yaghfiru ayyushraka bih wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. Indeed, Allah does not forgive whoever associates anything with Allah Azza wa Jal, but He forgives anything lesser than that. Zina is not shirk. It's lesser than shirk. Allah forgives that. طيب? So, that's Khawarij when it comes to definition of al-Iman. That's their big downfall. Then you have Murji'ah. Murji'ah, they call Murji'ah because they strip of action from Iman. So they say action is not part of Iman. Okay? And the Murji'ah are different levels of Murji'ah. The first is the worst of them. And these Murji'ah are the Jahmiyyah. And they said Iman ma'rifa faqat. Ma'rifa is just knowledge. So if you have knowledge of Allah, you are a believer. Okay, this is the bid'ah, Jahm bin Safwan propagated. Now I'm going to tell you, Jahm bin Safwan is a kafir, and he made major kufr in his Sharia. Okay, and the first bid'ah he spread was Iman is ma'rifah. So if we say Iman is only ma'rifah, knowledge in the heart, you become a believer. Okay, then Fir'aun is a believer. Then Iblis is a believer. Here's the ma'rifah. Okay, so that's the first bid'ah Jahm bin Safwan did. The second bid'ah he did was Jabariyah. He also spread this bid'ah. A human, a slave of Allah, are forced to do things. Okay, he also the bid'ah of sifat fi Allah Azza wa Jal, attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. That he said Quran is created, the speech of Allah is created, sifat of Allah, and he denied all the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. Jahmi, that's where Jahmiyyah came from, Jahm bin Safwan. And also the bid'ah he also did was that he said the Jannah and Nar will be perished. So he said once upon a time there will come a time when both will be perished. And that's disbelief as well. They will never be perished. So this is the bid'ah that Jahm bin Safwan spreaded. Also, so the murji'ah, that's the fourth murji'ah. Ma'rifah, iman ma'rifah faqat. Just have knowledge and you're a believer. Do whatever you want. As long as you have that, do all the sins you commit, you still, khalas, you're a believer. Does that make sense? Tayyib. The next type of murji'ah, they say, murji'ah qawlu bil lisan. If you just make the statement, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah, you're a believer. Okay, nothing to do with the heart. He said that is za'ida, is something extra. No. Okay, so the munafiqun are the believers to you then. They are believers. They don't believe in Islam, but just because they uttered the iman, they are believers. Why did Allah reveal ayah against the munafiqun, and Allah exposed the munafiqun at the time of Prophet ﷺ? So that's what it means. So according to them, murji'ah, all the munafiqun who Allah exposed, never embraced Islam afterward, they're the believers to you. And Allah said, Innal munafiqina fi darki asfali min an-nar. Indeed, the munafiqun the lowest of the hell. Allah promised that. How can they be a believer then? So that's the second type of murji'ah. The third type of murji'ah is they say that is tasdiq bil qalb. You just believe in the heart. You don't have to utter it. So okay, that's Abu Talib then. Abu Talib is a believer for you because he believed. He believed in Islam. He said before he died, he said Abu Talib, لقد علمت بأن دين محمد من خير أديان برية دينا لولا ملام حذار لرأيتني سمحا بذلك مبينا. He said that I have come to realize the deen of Muhammad is the best of the deen. He believed it. Okay, if there was no problems, animosity with the people, I would have embraced Islam open-heartedly. That's what he said. This is the poem he said, it's famous. So he believed it, but never uttered it. What did Prophet say to Abu Talib? Ya ammi, قل لا إله إلا الله كلمة وحج بهند الله. Oh my uncle, say La ilaha illallah, a word. If you say it, I will intercede for you on Qiyamah. Why did he make him to say La ilaha illallah? Why didn't he just say, oh, you believe it's enough for you? No, he wants him to say it. Because part of the pillar of La ilaha illallah is three: belief, statement, action. So Abu Talib, according to this murji'ah, he's a believer. But he's a mushrik. Allah knew Abu Talib believes in the heart, but he never uttered it. So we should make this something small, uttering. You have to utter it. What's in your heart? Tayyib. Unless a person believes but can't speak, then that's different. Tayyib. But yeah, so you have to utter it. So this is their definition of iman is crazy. Does that make sense? The fourth type of murji'ah are the least ones. They are some of the scholars of Ahnaf, they're called fuqaha of murji'ah. Fuqaha of murji'ah. The least one. And that's why you probably see a lot of Ahnaf in that situation. they believe and they have statement, but they don't have no action. That's what they say. This is the fourth one. قَوْلُ بِاللِّسَانِ وَإِعْتِقَادُ بِالْجَنَانِ. Statement and belief. That's it. That's the iman. You don't have to act upon it. Now, you find in many, many verses in the Quran, my brothers, Allah threatened them with the punishment of Jahannam. And Allah said, two verses I'm going to give you. وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا مُبِينًا. That whoever disobeys Allah's messenger, he has gone clearly misguided. Another verse, وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَهُ يُدْخِلْهُ نَارًا خَالِدًا فِيهَا. That whoever disobeys Allah and His messenger, okay, and he passed the boundary by disobeying Allah, then he will be entered into the Jahannam. Allah is threatening the people for disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal, not having a'mal. So it shows that you've left something which is part of Iman. Yadu billah. On the contrary to that, Allah said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٌ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْكَبِيرُ. Allah said that as for those who believe and do righteous action, okay, they will be admitted to Jannah beneath which river flows. And that is the greatest achievement. Allah said in another verse, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٌ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. Baqarah, Allah said, give the glad tidings for those who believe and do righteous action, they'll be admitted to Jannah beneath which river flows. So it shows both ayahs contrary to each other. Okay, if you disobey Allah, adab. If you obey Allah with iman, Jannah. So if Allah is threatening people with the punishment of Jahannam for leaving action, isn't the part of iman? You left something part of iman. طيب يا إخوة. So Murji'ah are the second aspect of the people who so they say that giving all this type of Murji'ah, as long as you have these, whatever sin you commit, you disobey Allah Azza wa Jal, there is no effect in you. Your iman is completely firm and sound. طيب. How can it be sound if someone committing zina and someone not committing zina? How is iman is the same? Someone drinking alcohol and someone doesn't drink alcohol. How is the iman is the same? It doesn't make sense. Shaykh al-Islam says that the one who commits major sin, huwa mu'min naqis bil iman. He's a believer, but iman is naqis. Or we say mu'min bil iman, fasiq bil kabira. Another way of saying he's a mu'min because of iman, but fasiq because of his major sins. طيب. So Imam Ibn Qudama, so we've explained definition of iman and iman between the two extremes, Ahl Sunnah. So the Khawarij, their extreme is that everything leaves. Every action leaves if you commit sin, major sin. And the Murji, on the other hand, sin doesn't affect you. As long as you have this definition, you have ma'rifah or belief, that's it. Whatever sin you commit, you're like malaika. You're like Abu Bakr, yadu billah. The sin doesn't affect your iman, yadu billah. Hadith says that if you commit sin, you have a mark on your heart. Okay? And if you continue to commit sin, you blacken your heart. If you make tawbah, it removes it. It does affect your heart. Yadu billah. طيب. And Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, are we given the definition of iman from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that if someone commits major sin, that he's still a believer. Okay, he's fasiq because of the major sins, and if you make tawbah, he's removed. It will be removed from him. But iman does go up and down. Okay, it goes up and down, no doubt. And we'll give you some of the hadith. طيب. وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين قيمة. Surah Al-Bayyinah. Ibn Qudama brings this ayah for iman. We haven't been commanded except to worship Allah with ikhlas, which is from the heart. To Allah belong the deen of Hunafa. Now Hunafa is the plural of Hanif, which means someone worshipped Allah alone without associating anything with Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's ikhlas. Ikhlas is from the heart. وَيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُ الزَّكَاةِ. And to establish salah and give zakat, that's part of limbs. That's part of iman. Why? وَذَلِكَ دِينٌ قَيِّمًا. All of these is established din. So our deen based on that iman. طيب. فجعل عباد الله تعالى إخلاص القلب وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة كلها من الدين. So Ibn Qudama says Allah has made slave of Allah, the ikhlas from the heart, and establishing salah and giving zakat, all part of ad-deen. Ad-deen. So ad-deen, we know 3 levels of ad-deen. Islam, Iman and Ihsan. Islam, we know hadith of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, when Islam is action of all the action of the limbs, and Iman, all the action of the heart, and Ihsan is obviously combining of the heart and the limbs. طيب, there's a hadith, al-Imanu fil qalb wal-Islam al-Jawarih. The hadith, Islam, action of the limbs, and Iman is from the heart. This is a hadith about Anas bin Malik. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Qayyim makes it sahih. Ibn Abil Aziz makes it sahih. A lot of ulama make this hadith da'if. But in reality, that's what it is. Umar radiallahu anhu, the hadith, Prophet explained Islam as outer limbs. And Iman, he explained action of the heart. But there's another hadith of Ibn Abbas, where when the question was asked about Iman, he explained Iman with Salah, Zakat and Hajj. So action, that one, all of the action that comes in. طيب. Now, so this ayah is part of Iman, this Ibn Ayah Bayyina. The next hadith, inshallah, we'll finish here. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الإيمان بضع وسبعون شعبة أعلاها شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأدناها إماتة الأذى عن الطريق فجعل القول والعمل من الإيمان. So here, hadith of Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه, most likely I think, the Iman بدع وسبعون شعبة. There's another issue, ستون شعبة. Bid'un is a number between 2 to 9. So it could be 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and 79. Okay, branches. The highest of these branches is La ilaha illallah, which is statement of the tongue. Wa adnaha, and the lowest is to remove something from the road, which is action of the limbs. Okay. And the haya said, and then hadith said, وَالْحَيَا مِنْ شُعْبَةِ الْإِيمَانِ, and haya, shameness, is part of Iman, which is from the heart. So, in this hadith, Prophet mentioned 3 levels of Iman: belief, statement, and action. Okay? Now, if we take this hadith, bid'un wa sab'un, 70, 270, bid'un, we don't know what number it is, could be 2 to 9. So this number is a huge number. Some ulama says it's more than that. But we don't know these 70 branches, 75 branches, 78 branches. We don't know what they are. Okay? So, the ulama says that the reason being is that Allah wants us to practice all these branches of Iman and come close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So, from these actions, statement, belief in the heart, they're all part of Iman. So belief in the heart, love of Allah, hope of Allah, fear of Allah, part of Iman. Okay, reading Quran, making azkar, part of Iman. طيب, praying salah, giving zakat. Imam Bukhari has, he chapter headed, as-salah min al-iman, ita'u zakah min al-iman, sabru min al-iman. In Bukhari, he's got chapter heading like that. They're all from Iman. Okay, walking to the masjid for salah, part of Iman. طيب, sadaqah, all these is part of Iman. So a whole deen is part of Iman. طيب, so we don't know these 74, 75, what are the branches. But some of the ulama, Ibn Hajar wanted to collect them and put them in order. But ala kulli hal, we don't know. We have to practice our deen. The whole deen is part of Iman. Whole of the deen. Now, again, whole deen is part of Iman, and Iman increases, it decreases, and we have many ayah in the Quran. فَزَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا, and the Iman has increased. Now, I'm going to give you a hadith. This hadith shows the Iman goes up and down. Okay? It goes low as anything. Hadith of Prophet ﷺ, this hadith in Bukhari, Muslim, hadith of Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يخرج من النار من قال لا إله إلا الله وفي قلبه مثقال برة أو خردلة أو ذرة من الإيمان. That a person will come out from the hellfire who says لا إله إلا الله and his heart filled with مثقال برة. His heart is full of wheat. In which side of Iman? Wheat, very small. or kharadalatin, mustard of iman, or dharratin, or atom of iman, he'll be taken from the hellfire. So can you see the level gone down? So mithqal barra is, then the khardal, then the lowest is dharra, is atom. So iman goes down. Even least of iman, that level of iman, a person has in the heart will be taken from the hellfire. So this hadith shows iman goes down. Okay? We have another hadith, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, that Prophet said that man ra'a minkum munkar falyughayyir biyadihi wa man lam yastati bilisani wa man lam yastati biqalbi wa dhalika ad'afu al-iman. That whoever see any harm, let him change it with his hand. If he can't let him speak out. If he can't, let him hate in the heart. That's the lowest of the iman. So the iman from the top to bottom, it goes up and down. It can go low. So what we learn from this, my brothers, is the definition of iman from the Quran and the Sunnah, what iman actually means. طيب يا إخوة, so we've covered some of it. So next week, إخوة, we will post it on the group. Next week we'll do class after 7 o'clock. After Maghrib. What time is Maghrib?
It will be around half 7, 7:40. Because the time's going to change.
Oh, easy, when?
It's Sunday.
Okay, subhanallah. So, you want to do after Maghrib, yeah? So, say 8 o'clock?
That's 7:45, 8 o'clock, yeah.
So next week we'll do a class 7:45 to 8 o'clock, inshallah, okay? So, jazakumullah khair. Any questions you want me to ask me, inshallah? Clarification, you can understand everything. No more question? Khalas? Okay, jazakumullah khair. Oh, go on.
So you know when you said about the sins, how is obviously we say it's not qadr of Allah. But then
Nice, qadr of Allah.
It is. We've established that it is.
You have to say it's qadr of Allah.
Yeah, so the ending is obviously.
Okay, so let me give you an example. I think it's very difficult to believe that. So if someone goes down now on the road and he goes and he gets a gun and shoots the man, A'udhu billah, that's qadr of Allah. But you made the choice to kill that person. Why? Allah knew this is going to happen. It's written. Okay? He willed it and He created it. But we shouldn't be looking at this. We should be looking at our will, our choice. We have a choice in the matter. Okay? I have choice not to kill him. I have choice to kill him. Yadu billah. So, any sins. You can go to the pub and drink alcohol. That's qadr of Allah. Allah knew you're going to do this. But you don't have to do it. Why are you going then doing it? You have a choice in the matter. Understand? But you have to say qadr of Allah, because until Allah wills, nothing can happen. Are we saying that we have the power to do things without the will of Allah? I don't need the power of Allah. Inna kulla shayn khalaqna bi qadr. Indeed, everything is created with the qadr. Everything has created with the qadr. All these operations that are happening on the earth is kawniyah, universal decree. Are we saying these operations that are happening is not by the will of Allah? No, it is by the will of Allah. He decreed it, but he doesn't love it. But it's the people earned it with their own hand. They want to do that. You know. So this mufsiduna fil ard, or those corruption makers, they're doing it with their own hand. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. That fasad has spread in the sea and on the land, which the people have earned with their own hand. Not Allah. But Allah knows, yeah, I know you're going to do this. I'm Ar-Rabb. I am the Lord of the heaven and earth. I am Allamul Ghuyub. I am the knower of unseen. I know this. Nothing goes away from the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows that. But whatever sins that happens, we have to say it's qadr of Allah. And if you say it is not decree of Allah, it happened without decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, it can be kufr. Because we say something happening, Allah doesn't know. And happen without the will of Allah. Allah's will doesn't have to be there. Yadu billah. No one has power to do anything without the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. So yeah, we have to say it's qadr of Allah. But the sin you committed, you've earned it with your own hand, yeah. Khalas? لا